So good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure always for me to join back to my second home. That is something happening in IFP Trivandrum or SAT, something related to that. And this time, this is a very interesting topic because, in the WhatsApp and in the WhatsApp University, I call it now, in the WhatsApp University and social media, everybody is speaking about the 18 crore rupees medicine, which is going to cure SMA and all. So people are, even doctors are wondering, what is this drug? Is there a drug like that? That is what they are all thinking about. And as a preamble, I would like to tell that I learned a lesson, that is SMA is not an uncommon disease in South India. And the first cause we say is consanguinity and the carrier genes coming together. But we see that in some families, without consanguinity, we have seen cases. Then that can be equated to the cystic fibrosis incidence in UK. There, the consanguinity is very rare, maybe less than 1%, but still cystic fibrosis is so rampant. That means the carrier gene is there in the many families. That is what even the Coimbatore team and all have seen, those who are working on the genetics of SMA has said. So this is not an uncommon gene in our South Indian population. And there was not much of a ray of hope for the early or infantile onset of SMA. And we have seen children very bright face and very anxious, dying because of respiratory failure. And we could do nothing about it. And now we have some ray of hope, and some medicines are coming, but and a single injection given to the child can cure him. That is something very amazing. And we know even 18 crore rupees could be crowd funded. 1 rupee, 18 crore people can contribute 18 crore rupees. So money is no problem these days. And to talk about this, we have none other than Dr. Shankar. He is a graduate and postgraduate from our own alma mater, SAT Hospital and Trivandrum Medical College. And he has the prestigious DM in genetics from the SCPGI Lucknow. And he is a wonderful clinician, a very good friend, a good administrator, a very good speaker, an academician, everything. An incarnation of all these within one human being. And I don't want to stand between you and Dr. Shankar. And over to Dr. Shankar. I think it is good that you project your CV also, so that we can know about your latest achievements, publications and achievements.
Thank you, madam. At the outset, I thank AMA Trivandrum for giving me the opportunity to talk this topic, because when Sir and Praveen discussed with me, or we have discussed among this topic, because last 15 years, after 2007, I completed my DM. 14 years or 15 years, I don't have any courage to talk on treatment of a genetic disorder. I will take treatment as a topic for most of these classes, for these DMs or fellowships or other people, small programs, conferences. It's a general topic, 1 hour topic on therapy, where we will cover all types of therapy, ERT, gene therapy, etc. But I'm very happy that in 2021, we were able to talk regarding treatment options and outcome in one of the, if it's a rare disease, commonest rare disease, spinal muscular atrophy, and gene therapy is as a boom, is going to come as a boom in next 10 years. Thank you, Elizabeth Madam, for wonderful introduction of the topic, as well as my teacher, my mentor. And Madam has started genetic clinic in SAT Hospital. And Madam has got a very good approach to genetic disorders. So thank you, Madam, for the introduction to the topic. So my aim is not to take the audience to the controversial areas, but what I thought, I will give you a glimpse, or I will give you an overview of what is SMA. Because when you read a little bit bigger articles, you should be able to understand what is SMN1, what is SMN2, what is a phenotypic modifications, etc. and different types of SMA, etc. So I will start from the basics of SMA, 10 or 12 slides, followed by what are the new therapies are available and what are the evidences now we are having. Because at one end of the spectrum, we should understand that it's a new gene therapy, which is going to do wonders. At the same time, we should understand that it is very premature to say it is a one-time drug. Definitely, it is going to have improvement. That means some more improvement has to be done for this molecule for long-term effect and everything. Because it is a newer drug, very few studies, very small number of babies has been studied. All these things also should know to the clinicians. So what is an SMA? SMA is a single gene disease or a monogenic disorder, as you know, because genetic disorders can be classified into chromosomal disorder, monogenic disorder, polygenic disorder, mitochondrial disorders, and cancers or somatic cell genetic disorders. So it's a single gene disorder, which is due to mutations in the SMN1 gene, which I will come to that later. As Madam told, second most common lethal recessive disease after cystic fibrosis or thalassemia. But if you see any genetic test group, it is the commonest genetic disorder, is they will call cystic fibrosis as commonest in most of the European countries, except from Asia. And thalassemia is the commonest genetic disorder in Asia and Indian subcontinent. But interestingly, thalassemia is not common in our part of South India, and cystic fibrosis is also not common in India. So basically, as Madam told, if you ask which is the commonest lethal recessive genetic disorder in Kerala, it is SMA. Because thalassemia, we don't have much cases. Sickle cell anemia, we are having in some pockets. I'm not ignoring that. But generally, if you say which is the commonest single lethal recessive disease, it is spinal muscular atrophy. And carrier frequency has been studied in various places, and it is given as 1 in 50, and incidence is 1 in 10,000 live births, and it is varied from some population, it is up to 1 in 6,000 live births, and carrier frequency in one of the recent my alma mater SGPGI study, it is 1 in 38. So definitely our carrier frequency is very high. As Madam rightly pointed out, we have also done another study. That means how consanguinity contribute to the autosomal recessive disease. Interestingly, consanguinity contribute maximum to a rare autosomal recessive disease, whereas consanguinity has not that much role in common autosomal recessive disorders like cystic fibrosis, thalassemia, or spinal muscular atrophy. I think that you will be able to understand the basics because it is very common in population. So need not have to marry a consanguineous person to become your spouse, become again a carrier. Whereas the rare conditions like osteopetrosis or rare skeletal dysplasia or rare metabolic disorder, it is highly likely that if you marry autosomal recessive disease, it will be high. So we have done a study where what is the proportion of consanguinity in this type of disorders. In rare disorders, always we will see around 30 to 40% cases are consanguineous, whereas in this type of common autosomal recessive disorders like SMA in our part, or thalassemia in North India, or cystic fibrosis in Western countries, it will be just more than a normal population. That means somewhere around 5%, 8%, maximum 10%. So that is very, very important. Consanguinity is not must, especially in a common rare disease. I am using this common rare in inverted commas because in principle it is rare, but it is the commonest rare disease. And inheritance is autosomal recessive inheritance. Again, this common rare I am using because when this crowdfunding came, people felt that it is rarest of rare. They are going to see once in a while only. So we have to give. That was the, I think, because so many non-medicos, common people have asked me, Abhurva Rogamalli, Etra Abhurva Rogamalli. But actually, it is not a very rare disease. I think most of the clinicians knows that. Because we are seeing at least one new case in 1 month or once in 2 months. So 6 to 8 cases is our new load per year. So it is not extremely rare disease, but it will come under the rare disease and one of the commonest rare disease. So I think some PGs or some other clinicians who doesn't know much about SMA will be there. So I will just 1 or 2 slides, I will give some introduction. So what are the clinical characteristics of SMA? History of motor difficulties, especially with loss of skills. Proximal muscles are more involved than distal muscle weakness. Hypotonia will be there. Areflexia or hyporeflexia. Tongue fasciculations is a characteristic finding. Hand tremors, especially in SMA type 2, type 3, and type 4, where older patients, outstretched hand will produce hand tremor, which we will call it as a polymini myoclonus, which is classically seen in Krugelberg-Willander syndrome, previously type 3, type 4 SMA.
Sir, slides കാണുന്നില്ല sir.
കാണുന്നില്ലേ?
ഇല്ല.
Slides ആർക്കും കാണുന്നില്ലേ?
Slide
screen share ചെയ്തില്ല സാറേ.
സ്ലൈഡ് വന്നില്ല. സ്ലൈഡ് ഷെയർ
ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്ലൈഡ് വന്നില്ലേ?
ഇല്ല, സ്ലൈഡ് ഷെയർ ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല.
1 minute. അയ്യോ പറയണ്ടേ?
നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ കോമൺ നല്ലൊരു സംസാരിക്കുന്നതിനോട് ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചു സ്ലൈഡ് ഇല്ലാതെ പറയാം.
സോറി ഷെയർ ശരിയായില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. സോറി
ഇപ്പൊ വന്നു സാർ. ഇപ്പൊ
സോറി. ഓക്കെ താങ്ക് യു റിയാസ്. അപ്പൊ ഷാനവാസ് വിചാരിച്ച് ഇൻട്രഡക്ഷൻ തന്നെ പറഞ്ഞു പോവാണെന്നല്ലേ? Okay, so history of motor difficulties, especially with loss of skills, proximal more than distal muscle weakness, hypotonia, areflexia or hyporeflexia, tongue fasciculation, hand tremor, recurrent lower respiratory tract infection or severe bronchiolitis in first few months of life, or evidence of motor unit disease in electromyogram. All these things are the classical characteristic clinical features of SMA, which I think most of the people knows. But more important thing is, because now we are hearing type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So what is type 1, what is type 2? Just I will go through that because it's very, very important when we are discussing about the treatment. So zero, let it be there, because always we will start from type 1, which is a commonest type of SMA. So if you see, for percentage of cases, somewhere around 45 to 50% cases is type 1. This SMN2 copies also, I will come that later. So type 1 is around 50% cases. Onset is always 0 to 6 months. There will be non-sitter, proximal predominant weakness, respiratory insufficiency, poor feeding, and tongue fasciculations, death by age of 2 years. This is the most important, commonest type of SMA, which usually we will detect by around 4 months or maximum 6 months, before 6 months, and they will usually die, or they will be ventilator dependent by around 1.5 years. Most of them will die by around 2 years. Whereas type 2 is 6 to 18 months. The 20% is constituted by type 2. They sit independently, never stands or ambulates. Proximal predominant weakens, tongue fasciculation, mini polymyoclonus, scoliosis, etc. is very important, because this is very important, because you would have been seeing some of the cases now. That case is basically elder sister is having scoliosis and proximal predominant weakens and tongue. Definitely, it cannot be a type 1. Type 1 patient definitely will not live up to 15 years without any treatment. So most alive at 25 years. Whereas type 3 is around 30%. And again, A and B, 18 months to 3 years and 3 to 30 years. That is onset. Again, 2 types of onset, mild and a little bit more mild. Ambulates independently. Proximal, lower extremity predominant weakness and abnormal gait. So this is actually a differential diagnosis of a older person with limb girdle muscular dystrophy, because this is usually not comes under the pediatric practice. Around 20 years, 25 years, they will come with a difficulty in abnormal gait, lower extremity predominant weakness, proximal weakness, polymini myoclonus, difficulty in climbing stairs. It is one of the LGMD phenotype. When we will see, and CPK is normal, this polymini myoclonus is there, you should suspect SMA type 3, normal lifespan. 4 is for less than 5%, more than 30 years, ambulate independently, maintains ability to ambulate, normal lifespan. So 3 and 4 is almost same, but 4 is little more milder. 0, it's extremely rare, but it is extremely severe type of SMA type 2, SMA type, rare, less than 1%. Even it can be detected in prenatal, and general weakness, hypotonia, respiratory failure, poor feeding, contractures, death within weeks. So this is one type which you should suspect in the newborn period, when patient is having contractures and congenital myopathy or congenital muscular dystrophy or myotonic dystrophy type of phenotype. So this is a newborn with the severe ventilatory dependency, where we will suspect a muscular dystrophy, myopathy, and rare cori SMA. So this is one type that within few weeks. Typical type 1, as everybody knows, is a typical floppy infant, where we will have other differential diagnosis. It is a milder phenotype, and it is definitely LGMD phenotype, these two things. You just concentrate why every condition is due to same type of mutation in the SMN1 gene, that is exon 7 and or exon 8 deletion, which causes the SMA. But why this phenotypic difference? This phenotypic difference have multiple reasons, but especially for this talk where treatment is important, please concentrate on this, SMN2. I am talking about the SMN1 gene where the mutations will be there. SMN2 is a pseudo gene which is present near the SMN1 gene, and the copy number of the SMN2 determines the phenotype. Here you can see that normally in normal person, there should be 2 copies of the SMN1 and 2 copies of the SMN2. So when there is 2 copies of the SMN1 is lost, that is homozygous mutation, they will develop SMA, where there is SMN2 copies can be 1 or 2. But when the SMN2 copies are more, like 3 or 3 to 4 or 4 or more, that means some amount of compensation can happen with the increased number of SMN2, and you will get a milder phenotype. So here I want to explain different forms of SMA that I think most of the people know, but this is very important, and importance of copy number of SMN2 in modulating or modifying the phenotype. What are the differential diagnoses? I think it is just for a postgraduates. I have included this slide. It is a anterior console is there, it's a peripheral nerve. Nerves are there, neuromuscular junction and muscles. So spinal muscular atrophy, always we have to other differential diagnoses like congenital hypomyelinating neuropathy, congenital myasthenic syndromes, congenital muscular dystrophy, congenital myopathies, metabolic myopathies like Pompe's disease, syndromes like Zellweger syndrome or Prader-Willi syndrome or mitochondrial disorder. So it's an listing is there, but always most important thing is a classical phenotype with a normal mentation, anxious child, some amount of respiratory involvement, tongue fasciculation, absence of elevated CPK, absence of central nervous system involvement, everything put into the diagnosis of most probably we are dealing with spinal muscular atrophy. So these are the most of the differential diagnosis. The list is a very huge list in, you can refer to the references gene review, where I told you there are 3 types of presentation. Congenital to less than 6 months is one type of presentation, which is I think more important for this crowd, where already I told you X-linked infantile SMA in UBA1 or SMART-D1 IgHMBB. These are the 2 or 3 rare variants of SMA, which is not due to SMN gene. But you don't give too much importance to that. Just I want to highlight for people who knows already of SMA. They should feel that something more be required. So that is why I thought there are some non-SMN related SMA type is there, like IgHMBP2, which is present in the very young age with respiratory failure and ventilatory dependent. And most important thing is these 2 types have diaphragmatic paralysis. Usually SMA will not have diaphragmatic paralysis early itself. So if in the newborn period itself you are having diaphragmatic paralysis, I think these type of cases, some of our PGs or SLT people would have been seen, but we are having 2-3 cases in this group. One patient, this group we are having, which is in ICU so many days, child was on ventilator and died at around 6 months, and we have identified the mutation and prenatal diagnosis was done. Next baby, they are having a normal child. So this is not very rare. We will discuss in our routine in clinic, especially in medical colleges. That is, some people will call it the SMA plus, or some people will get SMA variant, something like that. Similarly, Prader-Willi, myotonic dystrophy, congenital muscular dystrophy, congenital myasthenic syndrome, Pompe, Zellweger. These are all genetic conditions. These are some of the features which will help you to differentiate. I am not going to that details. Now so I have talked about the clinical phenotype and classification, which is very, very important. Now 2-3 slides on SMN gene. So SMN gene or survival motor neuron gene is located on the long arm of the chromosome 5q, and it is having 9 exons, encodes a 294 amino acid protein. In addition to the SMN gene, a copy of the SMN gene, which is called a pseudogene, present on the 5q located centromeric to the SMN gene, which is called SMN2. And actually the difference is only very small. SMN-T or telomeric gene or SMN1 is mutated to cause SMA, whereas SMN-C for centromeric or SMN2 may alter the severity of SMA. That is already I have explained. SMN1 and SMN2 have only 2 base differences located in exons. That means they are having same sequences except in one in exon 7 and one in exon 8 is having one differences in the 1 base difference. Otherwise, it is almost same sequence, but it is not expressed. So this is the SMN1 or telomere copy, which is expressed always, which is important for mRNA protease and protein. SMN2 is almost having the same gene sequence, but 2 base difference in exon 7 and exon 8, which is not usually expressed. I will come to that. I think that's I told. Last 15 years, I am not very happy to talk this SMA, thalassemia in depth. But I think when new molecular therapy comes, everybody should know. So today my talk will be a little bit molecular level. Then only you will be able to understand how this gene works. In basically, so that how it works and whether it is work for everybody, etc. So mutations in SMA is 94% SMA patients have deletions in exon 7 from both their SMN1 gene. 6% of SMA patients have an exon 7 deletion with a point mutations, which we cannot identify by the MLPA technique. Rarely, they have non-deletion mutations of both SMN gene copies. So 95%, just do MLPA, you can identify the deletions. So diagnostic panel, which diagnostic testing you will do, diagnostic, carrier, prenatal, etc. everywhere. We know that's 2 to 5% only sequence analysis. 95% is to do to deletion. So you have to do a gene targeted deletion duplication analysis by MLPA. Whereas SMN2 is basically a prognostic factor, which also we will do by MLPA. So this slide, I want to give you the information. 95% is due to deletion duplication of exon 7 or exon 8, which can be identified by a test called MLPA, multiplex ligation dependent probe amplification. If you are not getting by that, then you have to look for sequence analysis, which is 2 to 5%. So this already, I think, is a repetition slide, but here it is actual values. SMN2, 1 copy, SMA 96%, whereas SMN3, more than 4 copies, 88% will be SMN3 and 4. Only concentrate this. When there is SMN2 copy number is 1, 96% will present as SMA type 1, 4% is SMA type 2. Whereas when there is 2 SMN2 copies, 79% SMA 1 and 16% SMA 2. Whereas 4 or more than copies, 88% will present as SMN. This is very, very important. So, but there are other modifiers are there, which I am not going to use in this topic because we will be confused. There are so many other modifier gains also is there. This is very important because interestingly, I had a one case where child is present in SMA
There is
type
a lot of disturbance in Galaxy M30s. Please mute yourself, please.
Hello?
Now it is
Okay.
clear.
Okay.
A lot of
So
noise was there.
the child is SMA type 2, where child is having SMN deletion plus 2 copies of the SMA number. So naturally, we will do the carrier status in the parents. So I have done for the mother and father. Mother is a carrier. Father is having again a homozygous mutation. Interesting. But father is a type 3 or type 4 disease. Actually, he is not having any complaint. Only what he is telling is, type 3 it looks like a type 4. And when we analyze the SMN2 copies of that father, he is having 4 copies of the SMN2 copy number. So in the same family, father is having a homozygous mutation, child is having a homozygous mutation, mother is a carrier, child is presenting as type 2, where child is having 2 copy number of SMN2, whereas father is having 4 copy number, where father is presenting as a type 3, type 4 disease. So the SMN2 copy is very important thing which predict the phenotype. So diagnosis by not going to the details, multiplex ligation dependent probe amplification or MLPA, which is diagnosed by Schouten in MRC Holland in 1992. So this is the diagnostic test we will use for the SMN gene. So here, our own lab, we have started the MLPA testing. So we can do it. It is our own patient which we are doing. You can see that it is SMN1 exon 7. It is SMN2 exon 7. It is exon 3, exon 8, sorry, exon 8 is exon 8. So here you can see that this patient is exon 7 is absent, SMN1 exon 7, exon 8 is absent. So this is just in detail, you don't go, just a peak is absent. It is 0. That is exon 7 is absent. Exon 8 is absent in this patient. He is having homozygous deletion of exon 7 and exon 8. So he is affected with SMA. Whereas come to this patient, here you can see the peak is somewhere around here, and here peak is low. So this patient is 50% SMN1 is there, 50% exon 7 is there, 50% exon 8 is there. He is a carrier of, is actually parent of this patient, one of the parent of this patient. She is carrier of SMA type 1. So this is a normal patient. This is the SMA type 1 patient. It is father or mother. I'm not remembering father or mother. One of the parent of the SMA type 1 where she is a carrier. Here you can see that SMN2 gene, SMN2 exon 7, you are having 2 copies. Here is also SMN2 copies. Here we are having SMN2 1 copy only. So these are the blue, you are red, you don't see because these are all some of the other markers. So this we will do by the MLPA and gene analyzer. We will analyze how many copies are there. So when you clinically suspect SMA, which I think it's not very difficult for a clinician, SMN deletion testing should be done by MLPA or qPCR. qPCR is quantitative fluorescent PCR or a quantitative PCR. And when you do the SMN copy, it is 0 copy. That means confirmed 5q SMA. If 1 copy you identified, 1 copy is deleted, still you feel it is a SMA, then you have to look for SMN1 sequencing to look for other point mutation in the other gene. If it's more than 2 copies, then you have to look for other disease. It is unlikely to be SMA. And similarly, SMN2 you have to see predictive value of SMA severity, allows immediate inclusion in therapies, because that is why I told you it's very important, because therapy, I will come to that. Then if 2 copies, more than 2 or more copies of SMN1 is there, that means no deletion. It is unlikely to be SMA. Other SMA-like conditions, NMD, EMG, NCV, neurogenic disorders, or then we have to do the clinical exome, whole exome, all we have to do like that. So this is the diagnostic algorithm of SMA you have to check. So now we will come to the therapy. So now we are calling about the gene therapy. So genetic disorders are amenable to treatment at various levels. So previously we told that even if we are not treating a cure for the disease, we are not giving any molecular target, all the patient we will give genetic counseling, prenatal diagnosis and screening. Even now this is very, very important because these therapies are very much expensive. So don't forget about this genetic counseling and prenatal diagnosis. Because if the elder sibling is 15 years and younger sibling, again, they are having 1.5 years with affected child and they are asking for this treatment and other things. That means definitely we fail to do the prenatal diagnosis, which is not acceptable from our part. Because easily that family, a second born child of a affected SMA should have been prevented. Then other clinical phenotype, metabolic dysfunctions, so only completion sake I have put. Most important thing is in mutant gene, we will manage with the gene therapy. So what is gene therapy? Because we are hearing about the Soligen SMA, which is a gene therapy. So it is actually, there are 2 types of gene therapy. One is viral vectors carrying a normal gene copy, target internal organs, internal source of enzyme. Now it is very easy to explain because what we have taken as a COVID vaccine, as Covishield, is actually a adeno-associated virus vector where the Covishield mRNA has been, or the target gene has been given. Similarly, the interested targeted gene will be included in the vector, which will be, we will inject into the body. So the vector will go, multiply. The gene will be implicated in the various interested areas. Gene will multiply and these things will happen. So physiologically, or for understanding, a common man is very easy. Wherever there is deficient, diabetes and insulin or insulin gene 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 direct we are applying through a vector. Cell-based therapies are autologous stem cells are treated for defective gene copy and transplanted. This is applicable only to a condition where cell-based therapies are possible, especially in a hematogenous cells where immunodeficiency disorders or those type of disorders where lymphocytes or neutrophils or those type of cells, we can take it out. We can manipulate from outside then put into the gene, and the cells can be again re-injected. That is also some of the protocols are using this based therapy. So gene therapy can be a gene augmentation therapy, that already we told. But there are some other types of gene therapy like antisense oligonucleotide. What is this antisense oligonucleotide is doing? I will come to that in detail later. But here it is not, we are not augmenting the gene, but by mechanism, gene expression is altered. Please use the terminology gene expression, because I already told, normal person SMN1 is expressed, whereas SMN2 gene is not expressed. SMN2 സാധാരണ ആൾക്കാരിൽ എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്യത്തില്ല, SMN1 മാത്രമേ എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്യത്തുള്ളൂ. And another point we told, when number of SMN2 gene copies are increased, the phenotype will come down. So people have thought in a normal person also, നമ്മളൊരു ഇല്ലാത്ത ജീൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നതിനെക്കാട്ടിലും എളുപ്പമാണ് ഉള്ള ജീനിന്റെ സ്റ്റിമുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. So if you stimulate by some mechanism, if SMN2 gene copy നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റിമുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് 2 കോപ്പിക്ക് പകരം 3 കോപ്പി 4 കോപ്പി 5 കോപ്പി ഉണ്ടായാൽ, complete copy ഉണ്ടായാൽ, then why can't it be the phenotype can come down? This is the principle of antisense oligonucleotide in SMA. But antisense oligonucleotide എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ basically it is some small molecules. It can be a conventional ISO or it can be a small molecule. Small molecule means these are all pharmacological, some molecular targets. This target will go into the body and it will differentially express some areas. That means ചിലയിടങ്ങളിൽ എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്യും, ചിലയിടങ്ങളിൽ എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്യത്തില്ല. That's all. That SMA context മാത്രം ഞാൻ വരാം, because it's a very huge areas. Read through stop codon is another type of terminology where നമ്മൾ mRNA എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ മിസ്സെൻസ് മ്യൂട്ടേഷൻസ് മിസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് it will read other amino acids, so that instead of total absence of amino acids, we will get an amino acid which is having only loss of one protein, which is a milder phenotype, which is classically they have tried in the cystic fibrosis, PTC1, 2 for Atalaran. So many molecules has been tried. RNA interference, just like antisense oligonucleotide, at the mRNA level, mRNA will be suppressed by an interference molecule. This is a most of these things are given Nobel Prize for these inventions. So RNA interference is also common mechanism which is occurring in the one of the worm, that is the earthworm, which is identified, which why we thought we can use it in the human being. That means what we are using, some of the genes are overexpressed for genetic disorders, especially infectious diseases like hepatitis B and HIV, as well as malignancy. So if we stop this expression by some of the molecule at the level of RNA, so that the proteins are not expressed. So in the classical genetic disorder, it is not possible. In conditions where we want to suppress the expression, we can use the RNA interference. Gene editing is the newest technology where the molecular scissors will go inside the body. This will cut the wherever we want it, and they will introduce the new gene. That means here they are not introducing genes. We want only exon 7 and exon 8, which is not there. So it will cut wherever we want it. We will give exon 7 and exon 8, and so it will be corrected. So it is actually a correction of the defective gene. So that I will last one slide, I will add that. So this is the conventional gene therapy, where you can see that therapeutic gene is there. These are all vectors, and this is the target cells. So these vectors, inside the vectors, we have introduced the gene. As far as most of these vectors nowadays is adeno-associated virus vectors, because adeno-associated virus easily infect human being, and it is very mild virus which will not produce very serious issues. It will not produce a long time, because previously they were using other viruses which long term, after 5 years, 6 years, it has produced clonal proliferation and malignancy. But adeno-associated virus is comparatively a safer vector, but some issues are there which I will come to that later. So which will be introduced into the body, to the patient. It will come to the go to the patient, whichever interested genes will be given. Whereas here, already I told you, cells will be removed from the hematopoietic system. Cells has been grown, gene transfer has been given. The gene transferred new cells has been reinfused in the patient. This is applicable, or this has been tried in hematological disorders and immunodeficiency disorders. This is the antisense oligonucleotide in Duchenne muscular dystrophy, where exon skipping is done. So don't go to that, because I am not going to exon skipping, but just AO, that is antisense oligonucleotide, will come here, which will match here, which is not expressed. 48, 49. After that, 50, it's totally gone. 50 to 72, no exons will be produced in a patient. Whereas if you use this molecule, 50 and 51 will be missed. From 52, again, it is joined. So you are getting a reading frame restored, and you are getting a gene which is having less number of exon, but a normal gene. Whereas in a patient, it is totally disrupted frame and no protein at all. It is the misreading of DNA. That is, it's a normal translation occurring, full-length protein. Here you are having a abnormal mutation, and you are having a premature termination of the codon. From after that, there is no mutation. You are having always a truncated protein, but you are using a PTC124, which is the highest used molecule for this read-through stop codon. This molecule will come here. Only this one amino acid will be missed. Then again, it will be corrected, and normal termination codon will be there. So it is a full-length protein with less one amino acid. So it is a better protein and less phenotype. RNA interference, already I told you, viral infections and malignancy. Potential to revolutionize the treatment of birth, genetic expression has to be silenced, like viral infection and malignancy. Genome editing is genome editing with engineered nucleases is a type of genetic engineering which is DNA is inserted. And clustered, regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats is the important identification where we can do the genome editing. I'm not going to the detail because now we don't have any molecule of genome editing for SMA. Just for a completion's sake, I have included. But this gene therapy is having so many issues. This is very important because I am not going to the targeting that SMA gene therapy is having these issues, but SMA gene therapy has come into the revoke only 1 year. We are having gene therapy for so many other disorders like immunodeficiency disorders and OTC deficiencies, KID, etc. for last so many years. And there are excellent responses there, no doubt about that. But at the same time, there are some mishaps also is there. So what are the difficulties? Optimum dose of vector and its passenger gene necessary to achieve therapeutic outcome is not established. This is the same problem. I will discuss these issues, some of the issues related to SMA. SMA also the issues there. You should note that if you see the guidelines, some of the people have even read the guidelines of NICE and other thing. They have recommended only for less than 6 months. Why? Because studies has been done only for less than 6 months. So they have studied a drug. Dose has been studied only for less than 6 months. If the patient is 10 kg or 15 kg, 4 years, 5 years, whether the same dose is enough, nobody knows. So establishing dose in a pharmacological drug is very, very easy. In gene therapy, it is very, very difficult. But you can show that definitely improvement is there, no doubt about that. But this improvement will be shown in every patient, every weight patient that we don't know. So it has to be given only under a trial condition to a group of patient, homogeneous patient, then only we can study, and slowly we should extend to the other group of patients. And the specificity of transgene delivery. That means there are so many problems are there. If we are giving neurological tissue, but it is going to some other areas and giving some complications, it will be a problem. As far as SMA is known, there is no complication. It's there. 5 years study is there. It is safe. It is safe. But there are some cases where gene therapy has got so many issues. Because I don't know if you have read Risdiplam. Risdiplam had a previous molecule. Almost same type of molecule with a small one difference in the something. I'm not remembering that. And actually that molecule has produced some complication. So abruptly they have stopped the study and they feel that Risdiplam is a better drug, better safety. They continue. So these things can happen. So gene therapy, don't take it as a other simple drug like paracetamol or other thing. Because I don't know other people will accept or not. This drug was not in a disease community as well as other people feel that everything is fine. SMA in treatable on. SMA patient we can give it and patient will be completely normal. It is not like that. That is the only thing I want to tell. It is a breakthrough, no doubt about that. It is a breakthrough. And it is going to be a boom for the breakthrough. Next 5 years, you are going to see so many molecules in various genetic disorders. No doubt about that. But still, there are so many things you have to check before you are administering the medication or telling the patient that this is applicable. then control of transgene expression, the adequate margin of safety, because adenoviral vector in OTC deficiency, after so many years, the patient died. And retroviral vector in SCID deficiency, after some patient developed leukemia. And the interaction between the standard gene therapy and established therapy. But in SMA, that is not a problem. In Gaucher disease and other things, this is a problem. But here, you know that there is no standard therapy, so we don't have to bother about that. And these are the so many conditions. There are so many conditions where gene therapy has been tried. I'm not going into detail because of time, because already we are having 4 or 5 slides more, I think. Then, which is the first gene-targeted therapy SMA came is Spinraza or nusinersen. Nusinersen modulates alternate splicing of SMN2 gene, functionally converting into an SMN1 gene. This is the important thing. So it is an antisense oligonucleotide which increases the SMN2 gene expression, thus increasing the levels of protein in the CNS. But it has been shown that if you give the peripherally, the molecule is not reaching at the target site. So that is why it has to be given intrathecal administration. Side effects are recurrent respiratory infection, constipation, renal toxicity, and thrombocytopenia, etc., etc. So the dosage or recommended therapy is intrathecal loading dose of 12 milligram, equivalent dose of 4 to 5 ml depending on age, every 14 days for a total of 3 loading dose. So first we have to give once in 2 weeks, 3 loading dose, 4th loading dose 30 days after 3rd dose, then maintenance doses every 4 months. So it's a lifelong therapy, but advantage is it can be given or it can be recommended. It is recommended for all types of SMA patients because the study has been done in all types of SMA patients, SMA type 1, type 2, type 3. And type 1, not much is there because, as you know, it is a condition which is very severe and usually it will cause death. So it's a very long therapy. So you can try in SMA type 2 and type 3, more number of patients are there. Definitely motor improvement is there. So definitely there is improvement is there, but there are some side effects. One thing. Second thing is it's a lifelong administration. Third thing is the spinal intrathecal administration has to be done. So here, what is the mechanism? Here I told you it is SMN1, pre-mRNA exon, intron 7, 3' splicing, and it is functional SMN protein. Functional SMN protein in normal, more than 99% full-length transcript. Whereas in a normal person, what is happening? SMN type 2, in 85% cases, exon 7 transcript is not occurring. That is, transcript is not having exon 7 and exon most of the time. That is a non-functional SMN protein. This I'm talking not in the SMN patient, normal patient also this is happening. But in deceased patient, SMN7 is not at all working. Okay, so SMN7 in SMN1 is not working, SMN2 is also not working, so patient is affected. So if you give the drug treatment nusinersen, in SMN2, this SMN exon 7 is restored. Exon 7 is restored and it is produced functional SMN protein. But you should understand that in SMN2, in SMA patient, exon 7 is not deleted, but it is not expressed. That expression is altered or changed by ASO. So actually exon SMN2, this is the exon 7. There is a molecule called TSL2 and this molecule is important for the expression of exon 7 and the nusinersen is acting in this TSL2. So TSL2 is now deactivated, not working, and exon 7 will be expressed. Actually, risdiplam is also working somewhere here. So in the article, they have told both this risdiplam as well as nusinersen is acting in the TSL2 molecule so that TSL2 will be deactivated so that in SMN2, exon 7 will be expressed, which will have an active SMN2 molecule. Risdiplam is also same, but only difference is it is a small molecule, so it can cross the blood-brain barrier also. So it can easily move to various places. So you can give orally. But when you are giving orally, it has to be given daily. You have to give daily. And risdiplam in type 1 spinal muscular atrophy, the NEJM article came in March 11, 2021. But since it has been studied orally, study is more easier. So they have done in the more number of patients, type 2, type 3 patients. There are significant improvement is there. So they were able to launch the drug. FDA And interestingly, this is the drug which has been launched in Indian market also. 10th July, last Saturday, it was a launch program by Roche of Risdiplam in Indian market also. So this drug is now available in India, but it's very costly. That I will come to that later. But the most important and very media interest drug is Soligen SMA, that is Soligen asthma, single dose gene replacement therapy for spinal muscular atrophy. The first major breakthrough article came in NEJM because we are all clinicians, so we will more interested in NEJM. Before that also one article is there, but that article is basically a cell-based study and other studies. One most important drug trial came in NEJM. This is the START trial, single dose gene replacement therapy for spinal muscular atrophy, published in 2017, which has shown that, which is the 15 patients they have studied, cohort 1 and cohort 2, depending upon the little bit differences. And you see that all these patients, they have started the treatment before 8 months. You see, this is the starting of treatment. So please concentrate that in START trial, all these patients, they have treated at 8 months, before 8 months. So they have given below 6 months, but few patients at 8 months. And what they have studied, they have mainly studied 2 events. What are the events? One event is death, mortality, because as you know, type 1 patients, 75% will be 75% event-free, 50%, 25% event-free at the age of 14 years is the historical study. 8% event-free at the age of 2 years. 8% event-free, that means 92% of the SMA type 1 patient by around 20 months, not 20 years, 20 months will die or on ventilator. So they have given event, they have decided as 2 things, one is death, mortality or ventilatory dependent. So this is the event they have studied. So in normal historical study, 8% are event-free, that 92% have some event. But when the study has been done, almost all these patients are event-free. Only few patients have some ventilatory requirement. In between was there, pulmonary event was there, but there is no event. So it is a study-wise, it's a dramatic improvement, excellent drug. Definitely it will prevent the death and mortality of the SMA type 1 patient if you give sufficiently early. This is very, very important. So you cannot give a child on ventilator SMA Soligen asthma. You cannot give a 3-year or 4-year-old child with SMA because this has not been studied. It has been studied to a small group of homogeneous group of patients with less than 6 months. And this is the motor function. So this motor function is definitely some improvement is there. Non-CTs have stated. And another important thing is, whichever patient has been started the drug early has been significant motor improvement. Whichever patient has been started late has got a slow improvement. So in the, don't give to the month and other things. Just follow this all. This is a patient which started at very age. Age is 5 months. It is 1 month or something like that. So you can see that it is very good, reasonable improvement. This is also very improvement. But if they started at the 8 months, last patient, improvement is not that much good. So this has been shown that whenever the drug has been started early, there is a little bit improvement. That is biologically also that is acceptable. Because what these things are doing, it is giving the SMN1 gene. What is SMN1 gene is doing? SMN1 gene is preventing the degeneration of the anterior horn cell. So when there is degeneration of the anterior horn cell, these symptoms will develop. At birth, there will be 20% anterior horn cell or 30% or 40%. That just arbitrarily I'm telling for explanation. So day by day, more number of anterior horn cell will damage, degenerate, because there is no. SMN, what is survival motor neuron? That is for motor neuron survival, that gene is required. Gene is not there, survival of motor neuron will not occur. Survival motor neuron will die. So when we are giving SMN1 gene, whatever motor neuron is at the time of death, it is going to survive. But if already all motor neuron has been died, there is no motor neuron to survive. So that is why they have used the time in stroke equivalent to time in motor neuron survival. That is in stroke, when we are telling that the streptokinase other thing, regenerative therapy has to be given early itself, so that in the penumbra, in the outside of the stroke, there will be some amount of, that means going to dead cell will be there, which can be revived. Here also, some amount of cells will be lost, but there will be some is going to die. So if you give the SMN gene, is going to die, cells will come back. But if you go to a severe case, already almost all survival motor neuron has been died. There is no improvement. There is very, very less improvement. So that is where they have studied only for that group of patients. But at that, in the same thing, they have given the editorial. That is dilemma of two innovative therapies for spinal muscular atrophy. One side, you are having a single injection, but you are studied only in very small group. No remarkable motor improvement. At that time, there is less time because 2017. Now we know that it is 5 years down the line, single gene induction. There are some improvement is there. Non-sitters have sitted. Some people have just weight bad, but nowhere motor improvement is absolutely normal. Some increased in the improvement is there. They have got a lot of motor assessment of Philadelphia CHOP regime. They have done Hammersmith motor assessment they have done. Definitely there are improvement in the scores, but they have not become normal. So I am not selling, it is not bad. It is excellent drug, wonder drug, breakthrough drug. But the patient has to or and doctors should know that there is some event can be prevented, but entire thing cannot become normal. At present, evidence is not showing that. So comparatively, nusinersen approved by FDA in 2016. It's an antisense oligonucleotide, intrathecal administration, continued therapy lifelong, approved for all types of SMA at all ages. It is given in some large number of patients in India by compassionate access program, not marketed in India. Soligen SMA, approved by FDA in 2020. Viral vector augmentation, single IV administration, approved for SMA type 1 in children less than 2 years. Here also, I will come to that. FDA approval is children less than 2 years, compassionate access program. And approved by FDA 2020, small molecule with ASO, orally, dietary, lifelong, approved for all types of SMA, all ages, compassionate access program, launched in India on 10th July 2021. But interestingly, you can see that according to this broad label of a large number of patients with SMA would theoretically be eligible for treatment with Soligen asthma. That means 2 years. However, available data from clinical trials cover only patients during first 6 months of life with weight below 8.4 kg. Little is known about the safety and efficacy of Soligen SMA in older or heavier patients. This discrepancy poses major challenges to patients, clinicians, and payers associated with the question, who should be treated under which circumstances? Also, in view of the fact that an effective and safe treatment, nusinersen is already widely available in this patient population. So it is a very, very interesting, very good consensus statement came in the European Journal of Pediatric Neurology. This is our problem also. Because people are selling, but 2 who told? 2 years is FDA has just given us a 2 years, but studies has done only up to 6 months, and outcome we can study only up to 6 months. So that consensus having so many interesting, if somebody is interested, you can read that statement, comments, explanations, etc. But something I will read, in symptomatic patients, age at onset, disease duration, and motor function status at the start of treatment are the most important factors that predict response to treatment. That means, type 1, type 2, type 3, simple. That is not right. Because type 2 patient, 5 vayassambo, if he is on ventilator or something, actually he is not type 2. Type 2 severe variety, where most of the motor neuron will be lost. So any treatment will not benefit him. So most important than type 1, type 2, type 3, what is the age of onset? What is the disease duration? And what is the motor function status of the patient at the start of the treatment are the most important factors that predict the response to the treatment. Another most important thing is, so in Western country and other people, what they are thinking, why can't we go to the pre-symptomatic treatment? That means you identify at the newborn period itself, by newborn screening, and identify the patient, start treatment. Because their money is not a problem. They want to treat anything. So for them, newborn screening is there. Do newborn screening, identify whoever is going to have the SMA, treat them. So they have included one clause in pre-symptomatic patient, SMN2 copy number is the most important predictor of clinical severity and age of onset. So this has been included, but absolutely not applicable for us. But people should know that newborn screening in SMA has come across. In USA, about 40 or 42 states, around 25 states already started newborn screening for SMA because solid SMA is recommended for pre-symptomatic treatment of SMA. In the severe cases, gene replacement therapy and other diseases modified treatment might stabilize the disease, but not necessarily reduce disability or improve quality. It's very important statement. In severe cases, sometimes it may help you to revive the patient, but patient will be lifelong under ventilator therapy and difficult thing. You have to continue the palliative care. So these things has to be discussed with them. And when administered after the age of 6 months, advanced stage of the disease, parents or patients should clearly be made aware that there are so far no published data on efficacy and safety. And until now, there is no published evidence that combination of 2 doses modifying therapies, that is gene therapy and nusinersen, is superior to any single treatment alone. Some studies are going on now, and some anecdotal reports are there. In UK, one of the patients which has given NHS free, they have given nusinersen first. Now they have given augmentation therapy. So there are some studies and anecdotal reports on this, because studies they have published only 15 plus 40, around 50 cases only, standard studies. So far, around 600 patients has been given worldwide. 42 patients in India has been given. So as most patients will remain with significant disease burden, even after application of gene therapy, treatment centers should also be capable to provide appropriate multidisciplinary care. This is very important because we should give multidisciplinary care, then only we are justified in giving gene therapy. Because after gene therapy, they will have some slow improvement of motor system where we have to give a good physiotherapy, standardized care, standardized assessment. Very, very important. Data concerning effectiveness and safety should be collected systematically for all patients. So all these things are consensus statement. So multidisciplinary care is very, very important. So before going to the newborn screening and advanced treatment, etc., whether we are ready with the multidisciplinary care, we are giving, frankly speaking, very limited resources are there for us. I'm not telling absolutely we are not giving. Some of the patients who can afford this care, who can afford this, understand this, the parents are going and they are doing regular physiotherapy, all other complications, scoliosis treatment, surgery, etc. So you can see that this is very important to guidelines, diagnosis and management, spinal muscular atrophy, part 1 and part 2. When to ventilate, where to ventilate, what all things should be done, how frequently you have to do the throat section, how the orthopedic care should be done, how nutritional care should be done, how pulmonary care should be done, what all supplements should be given. Extensive 2 documents, part 1 and part 2, which is come in 2018. But I think even I am working in one of the Apex Tertiary Hospital, Tertiary Care Center in Kerala. It's very difficult to follow these guidelines in principle because there are so many patients are there. We're having so many other pressing other conditions are there. But we will counsel them. You go to physiotherapy, you go to orthopedician, etc. But whether it is happening, sometimes it can happen, sometimes it will not happen. So we should have a systematic multidisciplinary care. Then only there is meaning to enter into gene therapy and other protocols. Final slide. So this is the first body given recommendation. That is NICE recommendation, which is published recently only, July 7th. They have given a 34-page NICE recommendation, but they have not given guidelines. All of people know NICE guidelines. They have not given guidelines because it's a very costly drug. They cannot give guidelines. So what they have given guidance, NICE guidance, National Institute guidance for treatment of SMA. So only I have put the recommendation slide here. Rest all in detail here. What are slides? Every 34-page document. They are 6 months or younger, and they are 7 to 12 months if the treatment is agreed by the National Multidisciplinary Team. And it is only recommended for these groups if permanent ventilation for more than 16 hours per day or a tracheostomy is not needed, and the company provides it according to the commercial arrangement. Very, very important. So even for 7 to 12 months, they are giving only under compassionate ground or drug trial. So it is free given. It is given. NHS is the only area where they have given free this drug. So they are given, but it is given only for 6 months or younger, without any ventilatory support, without any respiratory distress. If you identify early enough, you can start. So this is one nice guidelines I have started. But most important thing is prevention, because you can prevent the disease. Because as already first itself madam told, it's a consanguineous parents, previous child is with SMA. If you include both these group, around 30 to 40% of SMA, definitely you can prevent. And first baby, we cannot do anything. So prenatal diagnosis can be done, CVS at 11 to 12 weeks, DNA testing of the fetal sample. But we are doing a large number, because if you say a single disease, which maximum what we are doing in our genetic clinic in last 15 years, genetic lab in 15 years is SMA. We have done somewhere around, diagnosed around 70 to 80 cases of SMA, and prenatal diagnosis has been offered for around 20 to 30 couples. But since our data still that prenatal diagnosis data, we are not having full data. I'm not able to identify how much it is affected, because pinned our OP like in the Ganiki. Affected or not affected. But roughly what I felt, 25, 75, if you go, somewhere around 7 or 8 would have been affected and we terminated. Still, we have 32 families, 40 families. We have helped them to get a normal child. This is my first case in 2007. Immediately after I came after DM, these two couple came. He is working in railway, and first child is having SMA. And at that time, I am not doing procedure here, no testing here. Only I have coordinated the activity. They have gone to Mediscan. They have done the prenatal diagnosis, and they got a normal child. And they came with this child at that time. I have taken just a photograph. I am having that photograph always. I will remember them, because it's the first prenatal diagnosis I have done after 2007. I joined back after DM. After that, I would have been around 30 to 40 families SMA we have done. And carrier screening you can do with the previous child affected with SMA. Definitely you have to do. Definitely. And extended family screening. That is one person, one mother is identified that SMA carrier. Then younger sister is there. She is going to marry. We have to counsel them and we have to do them. Then consanguineous, to extents. Now, at present, we are not offering. But I think after this 18 crores, I have started in last 1 month, I have started this. Because they should not tell that SMA you have not done. So all consanguineous couples, now we are offering SMA screening. Because that everybody knows. All couples, I think at present it is very difficult. Because all couples, at least for one person we have to do. 2% we don't have to do. If one person is carrier, then second person also we can do, so that we can reduce the cost. But still, I think it is not the time to do, because we are not doing hemoglobin A2, we are not doing thalassemia, simple test. And we are so many other conditions are there, which easily we can do, we are not doing it. I think even as a geneticist, I feel it is not time to do all couple screening, but at least previous child affected with SMA, extended family screening, consanguineous marriage, we have to do. And rest of the controversial things I have not touched upon, but I think in between I have told where we stand. We have to give awareness of prenatal diagnosis so that the burden of the disease can be reduced. And when burden of the disease can be reduced, we can manage better. And whatever rest we are there, identify early so that the number of cases will be very less. Those cases, if you identify at 2 months or 3 months, I am not having any against in starting with the gene therapy of 18 crore. So definitely it will be worth it to give. But it is not right. Whatever SMA patients are there, all patients give 18 crore. I don't think it is not an acceptable and documented scientific evidence to give gene therapy to everybody. We have to select the patient. Some committee should be there, and crowdfunding also should be there. But that should be done through a government agency. That I think already court also 9th July court also verdict has been produced. Government has to start it, because policy, national policy, diseases has been classified into 3 strata or 4 strata. First strata, simple means it is not less costly, but reasonable cost, like diets, some specific drugs, etc. Government can buy and give. Second thing, one-time payment with the 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, like bone marrow transplant or that type of things. Government will pay 20 lakhs. Above that, the person has to take over somewhere. And like crores and things, government has to promote a crowdfunding, but it is through a government agency or somebody with a digital platform, so that we know that from where it comes and whether it is benefited for that patient also has to be checked. So a technical committee and somebody should be there who can supervise all those things, also very, very important. Parallelly, definitely there is a charitable access program is going on, then that is not a problem, because that drug company is giving, the doctor is taking the responsibility. We want academic answers, whether how many improvement is there, because as you know, KIMS has given 2 patients. So many people are given in India has been given these patients. That I am definitely promoting. We have to give. Then only we know. But there is no money business. It's a charitable access thing. That has to be given. That has to be continued. This is my, I think this is my, thank you very much for patient listening. Any doubt or clarifications and other thing, other people's comments and other things.
Dr. Shankar. It was a real eye-opener. I think some of the things are quite new, and it is nice to know these things are happening, and there is access to many of our patients as well. This is not happening in the Western world only. That was really an eye-opener. So one thing is that, can you compare the cost between the 3 different therapies that you said? The 3 different
Cost.
cost. Comparison.
Cost
Comparison
means
of-
this one time Soligen SMA, now they are telling 18 crores, 16 to 18 crores. That includes the GST tax, so somewhere around. But actually, that if government comes and some discussions going on, it will be reducing, because they are still selling. Sweden, they have given for 10 crores. There are some reports are there. So it will definitely somewhere around 12 to 14 crores or 15 crores. And Soligen asthma, it is in lakhs for 1 dose, but totally for 1 year, it will cost somewhere around 2.6 crores or 2 crores or something like that, definitely. But it's a lifelong therapy. So its crores will be multiplying. And that oral preparation is 1 bottle, 60 to 80 ml, 1 bottle. Now I have asked yesterday to the Roche person, I have also attended that the 10th July meeting. So they told INR rupees, they have not decided now. But if you convert the euro price, it will come where around 1 lakh to 20,000 rupees or 1 lakh 2,000 rupees, 1 lakh plus for 60 to 80 ml bottle, which will last for around 10 or 20 days. That also I have read somewhere in a 10 kg child, it will also come where around 2 to 3 crores per year. 2 to 3 crores. So around everything is in crores only.
Thank you, Dr. Shankar. Shija, are you here? Can you unmute and tell that interesting comment or question that you have put? Dr. Shija? Shija is here? I think otherwise I will read. Serum Institute has mastered the technology for a viral vector to carry a normal gene. And we now know that the normal SMN gene. Why not we spend this huge money to develop our own research rather than go for the foreign country?
Okay. So I will ask in the 2 parts. One is a general simple question. Even government also will ask, why should we develop our own gene therapy? I think the gene therapy protocols, that I am not an expert in answering that question, but whatever little knowledge I know, I will tell. But I think these are all very difficult things to develop. And gene therapy protocols, they are doing for last so many years. And they require a very, very high efficient and scientific methods, as well as a good clinician support also is there. But as far as my understanding, in India, there are so many basic scientists are working on genome editing and gene therapy, cell-based therapies, etc. But if coming to the clinical level, I think it is a little bit difficult, but it has to be. So I think it is possible, but some more inputs and other things are required. That is generally I am telling. Coming to your pointed question, that is whether Serum Institute has developed. There you should understand that the technology is not by Serum Institute. Technology is by Oxford. Oxford has just to tell them how to make it, they are making it, that's all. That is very, very important. Technology is not developed by Serum Institute. Technology is developed by Oxford, not by Serum. Serum Institute, I don't think having that much effort to do a serum adenovirus associated with, but our people are doing. Probably you are going to hear. I am going to talk the same talk probably, if God wishes, after 1 or 2 years, because hemophilia B, CMC Velu, is going to be the pioneer in coming with the adeno-associated virus 5 vector. It is under the phase 3 studies. Hemophilia B is a smaller gene. Hemophilia is a larger gene, so it cannot be packed. So they have shifted to hemophilia B. And Alok Srivastava in his group is doing, in combination with the MRI Institute, US, they are having a phase 3 studies. Hemophilia is definitely in next year, 2021 or 22, a gene therapy is going to come. And who has developed it? It is in our CMC Vellore, Shaji and his group. He is the stem cell therapy and he is doing that. So Indians can do it. That doesn't mean, but the same thing we cannot replicate because it's a patented product and other thing. So we have to do our own research. If somebody has done SMA, SM1 gene and Origin Asthma Abrovec, then same Serum Institute immediately they can take the AIV vector and they cannot put it and do it. Because at minimum it will take 10 years to come into the picture, the patented act and other things. It is very difficult. But
Yes.
we have to do to identify new gene therapies.
Yes, you have rightly said that from the bench to bedside, it is such a difficult thing. And basic research, ICMR will give permission. When it gives to gene therapy on patients or on human, it takes a lot of effort for the consent to come. Even none of the ethics committee in our institution is going to give you that. They will refer it to the ICMR and all. Over to Dr. Santosh Kumar for your comments. Dr. Santosh Kumar.
No comments. I have just joined. I was in another Zoom. So I've just joined, so I do not know what was going on in this meeting.
This was very high-fi.
Good evening, madam. I am Ajit Krishnan.
Ajit Krishnan is here.
Madam, thank you, Shankar, for your. I will not say. I cannot. Because such a nice talk. It was international faculty. Talk പോലെയാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയത്. ആദ്യത്തെ കുറെ ഇതൊന്നും നമുക്കൊന്നും മനസ്സിലായില്ല. മനസ്സിലാകുന്ന ഇത് വരട്ടെ എന്ന് ഞാൻ നോക്കിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. ഒരു പകുതി മുക്കാൽ കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പം കുറച്ച് മനസ്സിലാകാൻ തുടങ്ങി. അപ്പൊ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് നല്ലവണ്ണം നമുക്ക് വളരെ യൂസ്ഫുൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ജനറൽ പീഡിയാട്രീഷ്യന് വളരെ യൂസ്ഫുൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരുപാട് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം എനിക്ക് ഐ താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ ബീയിങ് വൺ ഓഫ് അവർ എസ്റ്റീംഡ് ഫാക്കൽറ്റി. വളരെ ഐ എം റിയലി പ്രൗഡ് ഓഫ് ഇറ്റ്. ഈ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ എനിക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത് 6 months മുമ്പേ നമ്മൾ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ കുറെ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആൾക്കാർക്ക് നമ്മൾ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ, അവർക്ക് നമ്മളെ ഫങ്ഷണൽ ലെവൽ അവർക്ക് ഏത് വരെ എത്താൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട്? 2 വയസ്സിൽ നമ്മൾ അസസ് ചെയ്തപ്പം അവർക്ക് ഫങ്ഷണൽ ലെവല് ഏത് വരെ അവർക്ക് എത്താൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ള ഏതെങ്കിലും സ്റ്റഡീസ് ഉണ്ടോ? അതിനെ പറ്റി ഒരു അഭിപ്രായം.
വെരി ഗുഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. ആ ഫങ്ഷണൽ ലെവലിനെ അധികം സംസാരിച്ചില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് ഫങ്ഷണൽ ലെവൽ ഡെഫിനറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് സ്റ്റഡി ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഈ കുട്ടികളുടെ ഫങ്ഷണൽ ലെവലിൽ ദേ വർ ഏബിൾ ടു സിറ്റ് വരെ ചെയ്ത കുട്ടികളുണ്ട്, ഇരുന്ന കുട്ടികളുണ്ട്.
നടക്കാൻ പറ്റിയ കുട്ടികളുണ്ടോ?
നടന്നു തുടങ്ങിയ കുട്ടികളില്ല ഇതുവരെ. അതാണ് ജസ്റ്റ് വെയിറ്റ് വെയറിംഗ് ചെയ്ത കുട്ടികളെ ഉള്ളൂ. നടന്ന കുട്ടികൾ അതിൽ പറയുന്നില്ല. പക്ഷെ ഒട്ടും തല പൊക്കാത്ത കുട്ടികൾ തല പൊക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഇരിക്കാത്ത കുട്ടികൾ ഇരുന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ദീസ് തിങ്സ് ആർ ഹാപ്പനിങ്. ദാറ്റ് മച്ച് ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റ് ഈസ് ദേർ.
അല്ല, whether this improvement will increase as day goes on or will it be remaining the same?
അല്ല, അതാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഷോർട്ട് പീരീഡ് ആയതുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പബ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം ഉള്ളതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ പബ്ലിക്കേഷൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇതുപോലെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ 15 രണ്ടാമത്തെ ഒരു 5 year സ്റ്റഡിക്കകത്ത് എല്ലാം കൂടെ ഒരു 42 കേസുകളുടെ പബ്ലിക്കേഷനേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതിനകത്ത് ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഇൻഫർമേഷൻസ് വളരെ കുറച്ച് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻസേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഈ 600 ആൾക്കാർ കൊടുത്തു എന്ന് പറയുന്നു. നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന കൊടുത്ത കേസുകളിൽ ഇതേപോലെ കഴുത്തുറക്കാത്ത കുട്ടിക്ക് കഴുത്തുറച്ച പോലെ കാണിക്കുന്നു, ചെറിയൊരു ഇമ്പ്രൂവ്മെന്റ് കാണുന്നു എന്നുള്ളതേ പറയാനുള്ള സമയമായിട്ടുള്ളൂ. ഇന്ത്യയിൽ കൊടുത്ത കുട്ടികളെല്ലാം ലെസ് ദാൻ 6 months, ലെസ് ദാൻ 1 year ആണ്. മീൻസ് 1 year ആയിട്ടേ മരുന്ന് കൊടുക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. 1 year മുമ്പ് കൊടുത്ത മരുന്നുകളാണ് എല്ലാം. 1 year ആയിട്ടില്ല, ലെസ് ദാൻ 6 months. സോ നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ലോങ് സ്റ്റാൻഡിങ് പറയാൻ ആയിട്ടില്ല ടൈം.
Anyway, there was a halt in the progression, no?
Definitely. അതാ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു മാഡം, ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ഹോൾട്ട് ഇൻ ദി പ്രോഗ്രഷൻ ഉണ്ട്, സം ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. ഇപ്പൊ അജിത് സാറ് ചോദിച്ചതുപോലെ വെദർ ദാറ്റ് ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റ് ഒരു 6 വർഷം കഴിയുമ്പോൾ നോർമൽ ആകുമെന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള ഒരു ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റ് നമുക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ. വി ഡോണ്ട് നോ. അതിനുള്ള എവിഡൻസ് ആയിട്ടില്ല. നമുക്ക് ഇപ്പൊ പോസിറ്റീവായിട്ട് തന്നെ ചിന്തിക്കാം, ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ചൈൽഡ് വിൽ ഇംപ്രൂവ്. പക്ഷെ അതിനുള്ള എവിഡൻസ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തേക്കില്ല.
I think there are no more questions. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, Madam, for moderating this session. Has Praveen come?
No. I invite Dr. Meena Krishna for the vote of thanks.
Okay. നേരത്തെ
പാർവതി
കൃഷ്ണൻ സാർ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ
ചോദിച്ചോട്ടെ.
എല്ലാവർക്കും മനസ്സിലാകാത്ത വിധത്തിൽ
1 minute. Parvati madam,
ചോദിച്ചോളൂ.
ask a question. Please, ma'am. Parvati madam.
Which was the first case given this in our country? How long was it given? First case?
അപ്പൊ അത് നമുക്ക് അങ്ങനെ അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ
Gene
madam.
therapy
Because
for
ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ,
SMA.
അത് ഇല്ല അത് മാഡം ഇവിടെ ചോദിച്ച ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആദ്യം കൊടുത്തതാണ് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്.
Yes.
മാഡം ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ആദ്യം കൊടുത്തതിന്
അതെ,
അങ്ങനെ
അതെ.
നമുക്ക്
ഇന്ത്യയില്.
ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ലഭ്യമല്ല. ബിക്കോസ് അതൊക്കെ ഈ ചാരിറ്റബിൾ ആക്സസ് പ്രോഗ്രാമിൽ കൊടുത്തതാണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ ഒന്നും ഇൻഫർമേഷൻസ് അങ്ങനെ വി ഡോണ്ട് നോ. കേരളത്തില് നമുക്ക് പറയാവുന്നത് വിനയൻ ആദ്യം കൊടുത്തു, അതിന്റെ വിനയന്റെ രണ്ടാമത്തെ കേസ് കൊടുത്തു, പിന്നെ മിംസിൽ കൊടുത്തു, കിംസിൽ 2 പേഷ്യന്റ് കൊടുത്തു. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ അതുപോലെ നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുള്ളത് ആൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു പീഡിയാട്രിക് ന്യൂറോളജിസ്റ്റ് ബാംഗ്ലൂർ ഉണ്ട്, ബാപ്റ്റിസ്റ്റ് ആൻഡ് ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ. ആൻ ഇസ് ഗുഡ് ഫ്രണ്ട് ഓഫ് മൈൻ. ആൻ ആണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്നത്.
She is an expert in this.
She is having good contacts with the QRSMA and ആ ഗ്രൂപ്പുമായിട്ടും MD ഒക്കെ. അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ ആൻ ആ ഫീൽഡിലാണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് ആൻഡ് കുറെ പേഷ്യൻസ് ആൻഡ് പേഷ്യൻസ് ആണ്. പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിലും എയിംസിലും എല്ലാം കുറച്ച് കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. എല്ലാം 2-3 പേഷ്യന്റേ ഉള്ളൂ. ബിക്കോസ് ഈ ചാരിറ്റബിൾ ആക്സസ് പ്രോഗ്രാമിന് എപ്പോഴും ചെറിയൊരു അവരങ്ങനെ കൊടുക്കുമ്പോഴങ്ങനെ ഒരു മാർക്കറ്റിംഗ് സ്ട്രാറ്റജി ഉണ്ട്. അവർ ഒരു സെന്ററിൽ മാത്രം മൊത്തം കൊടുക്കില്ല. They will give to every center 1 or 2 patients. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവരുടെ ഉദ്ദേശം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് more number of people should know about the drug ഇംപ്രൂവ്മെന്റിനെ കുറിച്ച്. ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് നോട്ട് സ്റ്റഡി. അപ്പൊ അവരങ്ങനെ കൂടുതൽ കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒരു നാഷണൽ വൈഡ് ആയിട്ട് കൊടുക്കും. ആൻഡ് JK ലോൺ ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ രാജസ്ഥാനിലുണ്ട്, അശോക് ഗുപ്ത. ഫസ്റ്റ് ഏതാണെന്ന് എനിക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ വേണം. ബിക്കോസ് ന്യൂസിലാസിന് ആദ്യമായിട്ട് SGPGയിലാണ് കൊടുത്ത് 2016. പക്ഷെ ഇത് ഫസ്റ്റ് പേഷ്യന്റ് ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ.
Thank you, madam.
It's an excellent talk, Shankar. Eye opener.
Thank you, madam.
Meena madam.
ശങ്കർ സാർ, ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എൻ എക്സലന്റ് ടോക്ക്. എല്ലാവർക്കും മനസ്സിലാകാത്ത രീതിയിൽ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഭയങ്കര
കുറച്ച് കട്ടിയാണ്, പക്ഷെ വേറെ വഴിയില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ്
വേറെ വഴിയില്ല. പക്ഷെ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാനും സാധിച്ചു സാറേ. നന്നായിട്ട് പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്ത്.
Like the SMN2 gene, really an eye opener.
അതെ, അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ മേഡം. ആ ഒരു പോയിന്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോ അത് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പടമൊക്കെ വെച്ച് പറയാതെ മനസ്സിലാവാത്തത് കൊണ്ട് കുറച്ച് അങ്ങനത്തെ പടങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആയിപ്പോയി. പക്ഷെ എനിക്ക് ആ ഇമേജ് അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ. ആ ഫിനോട്ടിപിക് മോഡിഫിക്കേഷൻസ് എങ്ങനെ ഡ്രഗ് അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നു, ദാറ്റ്സ് ഓൾ. അതറിഞ്ഞാൽ മതി, ദാറ്റ്സ് ഓൾ.
പിന്നെ ഡ്രഗ് ഒരു ഒറ്റമൂല്യല്ലാന്നും ഇത് കൊടുത്തു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ എല്ലാം ശരിയായില്ല. അതിന്റെ മറുവശങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ട്. ഡ്രഗ് കാരണം പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാകാം. അങ്ങനെ അങ്ങ് ഭയങ്കര ആ എത്തിക്കൽ പാർട്ടും അതിന്റെ അകത്ത് ചിന്തിക്കാനുണ്ട് എന്നുള്ളതും ഒരു ഐ ഓപ്പണർ തന്നെയാണ്. നമ്മളങ്ങ് ഭയങ്കര എടുത്തു ചാടി അങ്ങ് എല്ലാവർക്കും റെക്കമെൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് എലിസബത്ത് മാഡം, താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ മോഡറേറ്റിംഗ് ദി സെഷൻ. മാഡത്തിന് ഇപ്പം യൂണിസെഫിന്റെ അടുത്ത കാലത്ത് നമ്മുടെ കേരളത്തിലെ മാതൃശിശു സംരക്ഷണ ഉപദേഷ്ടാവായി നിയമിക്കുകയുണ്ടായി. വി ആർ ഓൾ പ്രൗഡ് ഓഫ് യു മാഡം. And as we are running short of time, I would also like to thank all the participants. Ajit sir ഒക്കെ നമ്മൾ ആലോചിച്ച ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഒക്കെ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഒരുപാട് പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസ് അവസാനം വരെയും കേൾക്കാനും കൂടിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. I thank all of you for this wonderful evening.
എലിസബത്ത് മാഡം, താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.
Thank you so much.
ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് അവസാനിപ്പിക്കാമല്ലോ. താങ്ക് യു.
അല്ല ശങ്കർ, ഒരു ചോദ്യം കൂടെ. നമ്മൾ ഈ വളരെ നേരത്തെ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച് കുറച്ചു പേർക്ക് കൊടുത്തെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ, പ്രീനേറ്റൽ പോലെ ചെയ്തിട്ട് എല്ലാം കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച് നമ്മൾ കൊടുത്തു, ഈ അസുഖം വരുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് പ്രീ സിംറ്റമാറ്റിക് ആയിട്ട് കൊടുത്തു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ, ആ ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണ്?
അതിന്റെ സ്റ്റഡി വന്നിട്ടില്ല. അത് വന്ന് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ഒരു സ്റ്റഡി ഈസ് ഗോയിങ് ഓൺ. ആ സ്റ്റഡിയുടെ ഇൻഡിക്കേഷൻ ആണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. അത് നമുക്ക് അപ്ലിക്കബിൾ അല്ല, ബിക്കോസ് നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെ ചെയ്തില്ലല്ലോ. അതായത് ന്യൂബോൺ സ്ക്രീനിങ്ങിലും ഏർലിയർ ആയിട്ട് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചിട്ട് SMN കോപ്പീസ് 3 വരെ പാടുള്ളൂ. 3-ൽ കൂടുതലുള്ളവർക്ക് അത് തിരിച്ചാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഞാൻ അത് പറയാത്തത്. അത് 3-ൽ കൂടുതലുണ്ട് നമ്മൾ കൊടുക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്നാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് 3-ൽ കൂടുതൽ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അവൻ മൈൽഡ് ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ അവന്റെ ഔട്ട്കം നമുക്ക് അസസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. അപ്പൊ SMN2 കോപ്പീസ് 3-ൽ കുറവായവർക്ക് പ്രീ സിംറ്റമാറ്റിക് ആയിട്ട് കൊടുത്താൽ അവർക്ക് ഇവന്റ് വരാതിരുന്നാൽ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഗുഡ് എന്നുള്ളതാണ് സ്റ്റഡി. പക്ഷെ ദാറ്റ് സ്റ്റഡി ഹാസ് നോട്ട് പബ്ലിഷ്. അങ്ങനെ നിറയെ സ്റ്റഡി നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ആക്ച്വലി SMA തന്നെ ഒരു 10-12 സ്റ്റഡി അടുത്ത ഒരു വർഷത്തിനകം വരും. Lot of studies are going on.
ശരി.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Praveen,
Thank you,
thank
Shankar
you.
sir, Elsworth madam. Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye. Good night.